Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it's a bit of a breezy morning up here in the city. And hope that saw some of the people enjoying that on the way here. But of course there is a lot, or there has been a lot going on recently. Speaking of traveling to the way here, yesterday, of course, we saw a lot of the events that were related to the ongoing strike by the joint unions. And if you watched our news class last night, we brought you some coverage about all of the strike action which took place yesterday, which was mainly in the form of, people blocking roads and highways, various ways, and that was happening countrywide.
Yeah. Definitely. People were reporting 45-minute, 1-hour delays, and it is a part of the continued strike action. I mean, we're now venturing into day 17 of the strike from the teachers, and that is the longest strike that they have done, and it is still ongoing. We're told that there are going to be continued strike actions today. It will not include a blockade. In fact, we are told that the unions will be hosting a funeral today to lay to rest what they say they will lay to rest corruption. So that's a part of what will take place today. We will be there to provide you all the updates as to how that unfolds. But the bigger issue here, besides the theatrics of the strike actions, is whether or not there will be a resolution made on the issues at hand. And the two things, once again, it's looking at the salary cut and some of the things that government has proposed to be able to alleviate the burden of the salary cut, and also the good governance measures. And we've also seen where some acts have been presented to the unions, and they are looking it over. They still have some concerns. So there's still not a resolution as yet.
Oh yes, absolutely. And of course, we have also been, we've been bringing you coverage of the reaction by both the union members and union leaders to some of the events which took place last week. In particular, some of the reaction to the proposal, because as we know, in relation to the 10% cut that the government is proposing, there has also been various, updated compensation proposals that are meant to be sort of a windfall to some of the difficulties which these public servants and teachers might face based on the 10% cut. And we haven't gotten a final response or to see whether or not there has been any full resolution on that score, as Marlene said just now. But of course, we are still seeing that the teachers, based on their continued strike action, seem to be holding strong in their position.
Yeah, and they're guided by their membership. You know, yesterday we had the union leaders on, and they spoke of going back to their members and having to present or to discuss, really, as the proposal had already been publicly announced. They went back to their members to discuss, and the members are still giving them the directive to go ahead with the strike action. So that's where we are today, and what we don't know is if there will be another meeting set up between the joint union negotiating team and the negotiating team from the government side. Clearly, there needs to be a resolution to this issue sooner rather than later. It's now venturing into the 4th week of strike action, and as we know, the teachers initiated that action first on April 26th. And so it continues today, and of course, as I said earlier, we'll keep you updated.
Oh, yeah.
But the other issue that was definitely buzzing all weekend long was the outbreak of COVID at the casino. And it is, I think, a really concerning situation when we hear of 21 people in one establishment testing positive. I think it is not the kind of reminder, but it is a reminder as to how we are not fully protected from this pandemic as yet. Even if you've gotten your first vaccine, you're not fully protected, and we must remain vigilant.
Yes, absolutely. And so that responsibility, of course, starts with us as individuals, and that is talking. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that.
Is that COVID?
Yeah, I know, right? And that, of course, I do apologize for that. But of course, that starts with us, taking our own responsibility to wash our hands, social distance, and of course, wear our masks when we are in public.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, we do know that one school in Belize City has reported that they are not going to be open. That's Queen Square Anglican School. They sent a letter out to parents yesterday saying that they have been informed of a COVID-19, possible COVID-19 exposure. And so to be absolutely safe, they will not be conducting their distance learning, disseminating packages and collecting the packages until next week. So, and I think that's perhaps the fact to underscore here. When you talk of the people who have tested positive in this one particular cluster, it's one thing that they have contracted the illness. The other part is how many of their family members have been exposed. You go home from work, that's your own safe little pod, and you think that you can be able to be more relaxed, not wear your mask, maybe not social distance, and that's how the pandemic, that's how it spreads. So, I expect that we'll probably see more cases from this cluster.
Yes, and of course, if we look at events which have been taking place internationally, we know that, of course, it only takes one. And even if we look back to when our outbreak became sort of serious last year following the events which took place in August and September of last year, and we saw how exponentially that grew. So of course it is a worrying situation considering not only that the size of the establishment, but also the amount of people who frequent casinos at any given time. So of course there are concerns that this could lead to a much bigger outbreak. And of course with the other situation that Marlene just mentioned, it's definitely time to be hyper vigilant and to not only adhere to the protocols, but also perhaps consider, your current movements and if you need to be everywhere where you are going. So we, of course, will keep you updated with the figures and all of the latest news on any potential outbreaks of COVID-19.
All right, there you have images of the cleaning process at the casino, and it is one of the things that they intend to do in addition to another round of tests for their employees before they reopen. The key thing here, and I think that's the one thing that has stuck with me, is that as they reported, 80% of their employees had actually received that first vaccine. And I said it, I've been saying it every day. I understand you get that first vaccination and you feel, just a little bit braver. You have some level of protection, but some level of protection is not enough to keep you safe. And we just have to remain cautious of everywhere that we go, and that we're following with all the sanitization we can. Keep that hand sanitizer close. Maybe you tucked it in a drawer already, pull it back out and keep on cleaning the hands and wearing the mask and keeping that social distance.
Absolutely. And of course, we do want to encourage you to go out and get your vaccine if you do fall into any of the eligible categories right now. Of course, the vaccine campaign has been ongoing, and as of yesterday, we have just over 55,000 Belizeans vaccinated. Of course, all of the data which is coming out from the medical community internationally does indicate that once you are fully vaccinated, the chances of you getting a very serious case of COVID are extremely low. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't catch COVID. And as we see from the information that Marlene just spoke about in relation to the casino, that most of the workers did already get their vaccine, but so you're not 100% protected, but it does, of course, increase your chances of surviving COVID by a lot. So please go out, get your vaccines, and do your part to protect yourself and others.
All right. But we got to get moving into our show for today, and that means it's time for our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Grace exists in all situations and in every moment, yet all too often we may overlook its presence. Grace is always with us. It flows like a river through our lives, artfully reminding us that there is magic and power beyond what our eyes can see. At times, we catch its subtle beauty, like during chance meetings, near misses, and insights that seem to come from nowhere. Other times, we experience grace in all its powerful surety, such as when a job or relationship comes to an end. Though we may forget that this is grace at work too, it is indeed influencing our lives, helping us to move forward and take the next step. With each opportunity you give yourself to enjoy this current of benevolence, you may discover a deeper peace. Your faith may strengthen and your heart may open. You might begin to wonder if struggle is really all that necessary after all. By living this one day in grace, you might open the door to many more.
I like that eye-opener. I think it's a great reminder of things that are not necessarily always apparent to us. And of course, you know, we all go through difficult times, and especially since the onset of the pandemic, that has meant a different thing for all of us, because as we know, we get a lot of attention is paid to sort of the professional or financial hardships that the pandemic has brought on, but it also we also have to remember that a lot of people are struggling mentally because of those reasons, but also for other factors. Perhaps they've lost family members, perhaps they've lost their job, or perhaps even just the circumstances under which COVID-19 or that they have to be surviving through the pandemic, maybe through lockdowns. We know that that has had a lot of negative effects on people. So this sort of an eye-opener, I think, is a great reminder that, sort of grace is a constant presence, and we do have to sort of look for perhaps silver linings or try to make the best of the situation, because we know that, suffering may be temporary, but it will pass. And I think that that's sort of what the reminder is talking about. And if you do try to be conscious of that, then it can carry you through a lot of these sort of difficult situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when it uses the opportunity, the example of saying, sometimes something pops up and just helps you find a way. Mm-hmm. And you think to yourself, I'm so lucky, or, this must be the prayer answered that I was asking for. So many different ways of interpreting it. But that's exactly, what this eye-opener focuses on, that things unfold in a manner oftentimes just the way they should. And so we must accept that and also see it when things don't work out our way as well, because that's when it's hard to believe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's when and you know what, I think in those moments we often feel, so isolated or alone. And you have to also always remember that, we are, part of, the whole world and the universe, and that everything, of course, has its natural ups and downs. But, every situation is sort of temporary, and time can heal those wounds. And with grace, you can carry yourself through.
All right. So that is the eye-opener for today. And now it's time for us to get moving into our weather. And our weather for today is sponsored by Uno Belize, where with every purchase of $10 at a Uno gas station, you can get a chance to win a surprise box. These are done at selected Uno stations countrywide on a weekly basis. Surprise boxes may include anything from promotional item to fuel. This week, the surprise box will be at Uno Belmopan and Uno Belchina. And for today, our general situation is going to be?
We are expecting mainly fair conditions to prevail. And over the next 24 hours, for our 24-hour forecast, we're expecting it to be sunny with some cloudy spells today and partly cloudy tonight. Showers will be isolated, then isolated thunderstorms will develop over inland areas this afternoon.
And our winds are moving from the east to southeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea state will be choppy.
And looking at our temperatures for today, we are expecting highs of 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 96 inland, and 84 up in the hills.
And tonight, we're going to be experiencing 81 along the coast, 74 inland, and 66 in the hills.
And for our outlook, as we head into the middle of the week, we are going to expect some showers that will be isolated with a few afternoon thunderstorms developing over inland areas on Wednesday. Then a few showers and isolated thunderstorms will occur over inland and southern areas late Wednesday night.
And we want to thank our forecaster, Crystal Rosales, for that update for today. Let's also take a moment to remember that we're heading into the latter part of May, and that means the hurricane season is right around the corner. It is not abnormal for a storm to form outside of the season before it starts, and so the time to get ready is now. Put aside groceries if you can, put aside extra cash if you can. Put your plan in place at the very least. Sit with your family and decide where you're going to go, if you're going to need to go to a shelter. If you have your essentials put aside, the documents you may need if you have to run out, and have that ready. Most important way that you can get through that emergency plan is if you feel prepared and you've discussed it with your family. So please take the time to do that now.
Yes, absolutely. But with that said, we can get into our show for this morning, because we definitely have a lot of interesting conversations lined up for you. And our first conversation, we are going to be joined by representatives of UNICEF, and they are going to be talking all about their CPD program and identifying about how it helps in certain priority areas and what are their plans for the future.
All right. Well, the second part of our show, we are going to be talking about bees. Yes, the ones that buzz and the ones that sting. But we're going to be talking about the part about them that we like, with honey production. World Bee Day is coming up, and we're going to talk about the importance of bees and also some of the products that we've been making from it right here in Belize.
And our final conversation, we are going to be speaking about a program that is all about adult and continuing education, which helps, or it aims for adults to complete their high school education. So we're going to be hearing all about that in our third and final segment for this morning.
All right. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get our conversation started. So please stay tuned.
That's the sound of fuel efficiency. Every day, every time, I choose Una Fuels, powered with Dynamax. Una, a brand committed with the future.
It's a fact
that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Wow. Oh my God, she drunk. No hurry, I got this. My goodness. Oh my gosh, it's still the artist.
Being the hardest. Still the artist. But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home.
Thanks, Bree.
Of course, Tricia, you know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Because you can't replay in a real life. Stig says so. Can't replay in a real life.
And we're back.
And if you're joining us just now, we're getting our first conversation started for this morning, and we are talking all about the country program of cooperation. And joining us for this discussion, we have Paulette Wade, who is the monitoring and evaluation specialist from UNICEF. We also have Nadir Mendoza, who is a participant in the upcoming seminar, which is going to be hosted by UNICEF. And we also have Ava Diaz Sosa, who is a communications officer from the National Committees for Families and Children. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yes. All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We definitely appreciate it. And we would like to get the opportunity to get into all about what the program is all about. So perhaps, Paulette, you can take the lead there and just give us a bit of an introduction to the program.
Right. No problem at all. Thanks again for having us. It's always a pleasure of mine to be on Open Your Eyes, to see Maleni, of course. And so I'm very, very excited today because not only because we are looking at our country program. Every 5 years, UNICEF, along with the government of Belize, signs a cooperation of agreement that's for 5 years. So we're coming to the close. And one of the key things and pillars within that program was the whole idea of adolescent engagement. Now, that was one of the areas I think experienced some inertia because of COVID. We were not able to engage young people as we would like. And so that prompted us to really look at how can we engage young people. And so we have been having several conferences, meetings, powwow, WhatsApp texts with young people, trying to understand how can we still engage them. And coming out of that, what we are here to talk about too is what we call Nexus. That is a platform that we have along with NCFC and the Ministry of Local Government. What we have done is to put together this platform in which we can get young people's opinions on several issues that they're facing. And so as we come to the end of this country program, what we want to do, we want to find out from young people, what is happening with them, what are some of the issues that they are facing, and how can we best support the government in addressing those needs for young people. Because Maleni, you and I know that many times these decisions that are made for young people, it is very rare when they're engaged or when they're a part of it. And sometimes when we get young people together, it's very tokenistic, just to say that we had young people. But we wanted to ensure that this engagement is meaningful. There is a platform in which they can engage, they can learn, not only share information, but also learn from each other. And so this is why Nadir is also here with us, because he is one of the persons from the executive body that will manage Nexus. And we have several activities lined up. I don't want to take away from Ms. Ava, but we have several activities lined up to engage young people for them to be an active part of the development of the Next Country program between UNICEF and the government of Belize. And so this stakeholders meeting is happening tomorrow and Thursday. It's a virtual meeting. We have tried as best as possible to engage as wide cross-sector of stakeholders, but importantly, we want to get the views of young people.
Yeah. When you say young people, people think UNICEF and they think very young children. Nadir, I don't think you'd fall in that category when we think of UNICEF. But what age ranges are you hoping to be able to gather feedback from?
Mayor Nadir, Nadir?
Nadir? Yeah. He may be muted.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Well, good morning. Is UNICEF states, a child is anyone from between the ages of 13 to 24, and to 18, sorry, and a youth is 13 to 24, defined by the Constitution of Belize, the National Youth Policy. So basically, we just want to engage young people around this age group to ensure, they gain knowledge and training in some key areas such as mental health, fitness, and nutrition. Yeah. In addition to other areas such as, we have our U-Report, we have our Child Advisory Body, we have Kidorama, and of course the Children's Parliament, to ensure their voices are heard on these different spectrum.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about your involvement and how you are engaged at this level.
Well, I was elected the president of the platform by my peers. So my main job is basically to ensure that all these different programs are executed properly and all these goals are met, to ensure that all these individuals, for example, when we have our mental health training or fitness training, because I myself was trained by Ms. Karen Rosita as a fitness instructor. Nice. Therefore, I'll go out into the field, train other volunteers. From then they'll gain this information, go on to train other people, so we can build a network to ensure all these young individuals are knowledgeable and have the opportunity to train other people. So at the end, our main goal is to reduce the NCDs, non-communicable diseases, So, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Ava, tell us about NCFC and how you've been working along with NextU.
As you know, Marlene, the NCFC, one of its key goals is Article 12 of the UNCRC, which speaks to adolescent participation. And as has been mentioned by Paulette and Nadir, this has been a process that started last year looking at creating a space for young people to engage. And as he mentioned, they received training. We had 3 different cohorts receiving training in mental health, nutrition, and fitness. And so they in turn will use this platform, which after meeting, they decided to name it Nexus. So they'll be using this platform as a means to reach out to their peers and to educate them in the areas that they have been trained. So they, in essence, will be training trainers. And so by doing this, they'll be multiplying the amount of young people engaged. But the platform itself, the Nexus platform, will be housed on the NCFC's website. And so we're looking to engage as many young people as possible to use this forum as a means to communicate. And this will be done in various ways. Yeah. We'll be using it for webinars, for meetings amongst themselves. It will be somewhere where they can find information that they might need when they're doing research. And we're hoping to engage all our partners who are involved in dealing with young people so that they have one central location that they can meet and get information.
Yeah. And, go
And
ahead.
Paulette, earlier you mentioned a bit about the fact that you're coming to the close of the current 5-year period for the program. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of what has been accomplished over the past few years, and what are your hopes for the upcoming or the next session?
Okay, in terms of our country program, we have 3 outcomes. One that looks at multidimensional poverty and monitoring child rights. So that's the area where we would basically look at data collection. And so we have, during the course of the 5 years, we have done what we call the multiple indicator cluster survey. We have done that so that there is information on children, you know, because a lot of times, or for the most part, we're not a country that really have set periods for data collection. Most of it is ad hoc. Yeah. Except for the census and then now the labor force survey that SIB has been collecting twice a year. But outside of that, we have to rely on administrative data because we're not a data-driven country, so to speak. And so, as you know, that's where UNICEF really supports the government in ensuring that data is there to drive programs, to drive policies for children. We have the lifelong learning outcomes that looks at learning right across the life cycle. Looking at early childhood development. Through that program, we have supported the Ministry of Human Development in terms of roving caregivers. That's young women who go to the households in Southside Belize and Toledo and teach mothers how to engage with their children, how to stimulate them, and how to make toys and books out of reusable materials. We have also supported the government in terms of education with COVID and ensuring that, you know, the programs were on the air, ensure that those booklets could be printed. We also supported in terms of the whole idea of education, water and sanitation. We have supported the menstrual hygiene management, the use of the reusable pads for girls who are in the rural areas. In terms of safety, we have supported the Restore Belize in terms of the Metamorphosis program for at-risk youths. We are still currently doing last weekend, what we call the Migration Clinic. And through that clinic, that's birth registration that we're supporting. Yeah. We also supported in terms of having child-friendly spaces in several police units because of COVID, and many times the children are you know, outside of curfew and they're taken, so we wanted to ensure that there's safe spaces there. We have also supported in terms of the child-friendly court in PG, which, you know, it's a use of video systems. So it has been quite a lot that we have supported the government of Belize in terms of reaching the needs of children. We focus mainly on at-risk children, children who are in vulnerable situations, migrant children, you know, trying to leave no child behind.
Yeah, and that perhaps underscores why the next few days are so important. Oftentimes people think agencies like UN agencies or like UNICEF are coming in and kind of rolling out their own plan, but in fact, it's made at the start of 5 years and then executed over that time. In the next 2 days, you'll be meeting with stakeholders. So that's like ministries and NGOs and whatnot. And they'll be telling you what they think are some of the priority areas. My question, though, Paulette, is doing it at a time when we are kind of singularly focused on surviving the pandemic. How can that skew what the next 5 years will look like?
Well, you know that there are quite a few shocks that has been experienced because of COVID. But in light of that, children are still in need. And so this situation doesn't change. It doesn't change the fact that with COVID, they still have to be educated. It doesn't change the fact that they still need health care. It doesn't change the fact that they need protection. And you began the program by saying, you know, we're coming to mid-May and the hurricane season is right along. You know, so children are in this situation. However, their needs are to be met. So while we try to address COVID, we have to also ensure that the needs of children are not left behind. Like, for instance, I know we're not here to talk about data, but it's hard for me not to speak about data.
Well, you know I love getting data.
But you know, one of the things we have been noticing, and this is a growing concern for the Ministry of Health, that while we have been focusing on COVID and the vaccination, what has been happening is that the vaccination rate for children have significantly decreased. I think I've been saying it over and over again. Normally, if we would reach these stages in terms of the vaccination rate, we would say, oh, it's a cause for alarm. But because we're so focused on COVID, and I know that mothers are fearful of going to the clinics, but you know, children still need to be vaccinated.
Yes.
Because we cannot afford another pandemic. You know, and so we have to try to ensure that while we address and while we are fearful, that we take the necessary precaution, but we ensure that children get their vaccination on time. It is critical to their survival. You know,
I guess and Ava can definitely chime in on this one, because when you talk about protecting children or helping to ensure that children can attain their full potential, whether in education, in health, in just their own personal development, it's hard to do that in isolation. No agency can take a child and just fix them or make them better. They're in families and they're in households, and those households and families then also need support if that's what you want for the child. How does the putting together of the country program include the caretakers and the rest of the family?
After myself, anyway. In terms of that, what we have done, as I said, we've tried to ensure that we have as broad a cross section as possible, including parents, including all sectors, not only NGOs or government ministries, but also the parents. And again, when I opened, I said this is why it's so important that we get young people to sign up for Nexus. Because we need to hear their views, to ensure that while we do address their needs, like you rightly said, they live in homes, they live with their families. And so to change that, we have to also address the family. We have been working with the Mayors Association and the Ministry of, let me get it right, the Ministry of Rural Transformation, Labor and Local Government. In terms of what we call child-friendly cities. And so we call it sustainable and child-friendly municipalities. Unfortunately, this is only for the children who live in the cities and towns. But what we have done is kind of make the children's agenda, bring that children's agenda down into the cities and into the towns to ensure that children who live in these areas live in a child-friendly municipality. So we have been working along with the NCFC to ensure that we can localize the children's agenda down to the municipal level. So that is where we get the engagement. That is where we hear the voices of the parents, so to speak. However, without having a space for young people, we do not hear their voices. And so Nadir will say, yes, we need to ensure that young people are brought to the table and that their voices are heard. And they're a part of this discourse to ensure what is the support for the next 5 years.
And Nadir, why don't you talk about sort of what it means to you to have the opportunity to participate and have a voice in this sort of an exercise? And you can even talk a little bit about perhaps what are some of your areas that you'd like to see get some focus, or areas that you have been hearing from other young people that you'd like to highlight in this process.
You have to unmute.
All right, good morning once again, guys. Well, it's been a great journey so far, in this process, having the opportunity to be a part of it. I'm sharing my voice, and not the voice of only myself, but the other young individuals within the country of Belize, The platform, sorry about that, the platform Nexus, it's created to function as a virtual resource center that engages adolescents and youth, in learning and exchanging ideas and experiences, So basically, it enables young people from across the country who have access to a computer, a mobile device, can visit the platform, go onto it, and engage in these different types of activities, as Ms. Ava mentioned, where you can host webinars, meetings, and trainings, so you can build your knowledge in these different areas. And in my own opinion, the area that I feel and most young people need assistance in is mostly in the area of fitness. The same three areas that we're focused on: fitness, mental health, and nutrition. As the pandemic has brought an increase, in mental health problems, situations in the country, as young people are home, they're not in school, they can't, actually express their feelings with their peers, they're home and confined in a space. As it relates to nutrition, probably their parents are not able to work due to the pandemic, income decreases, they don't have the availability of food and the right nutrients as they used to. And as it comes to fitness, you can't go out. Recently, the government allowed back for sports to occur, before, young individuals are kept at home. They can't do much other than, exercising on a daily basis. And what is exercising if you don't have your peers to do it with, playing sports and these different things?
Yeah.
So basically, the platform is a really great platform now, as it allows these young individuals to come together on an online basis, and do these activities, interact with each other online, keeping in mind due to the pandemic, if not, we would have the ability to go in, with each other, have fun. But now we use the platform to get that done, as it relates to these different three main areas that I feel are most important, as a young individual in the country.
Nadir, let me ask you the question that I'm sure a lot of people tend to, or the statement that people tend to say, which is, young people don't care about what's happening in the country. You can open a space, but that means they don't necessarily want to talk about development or addressing issues. Is that what you find to be the truth?
I don't feel that is the truth. I feel that more is it's more being stereotypical, like the older generation. No offense, yes. No offense, anyway. But most individuals, the older generation are how to say, they're in the past, and they don't expect young individuals to express their concerns and needs, probably because they didn't have the opportunity to do so. But now we live in the 21st century, where we're moving into a more liberal society, where young people have the ability to voice their opinions, to voice what they feel, or voice their weaknesses, what in the society brings them down, being like a stereotypical generation, the older folks, no offense again, that I always, downplays them, in every situation. However, with UNICEF and this new platform, it shows that we have a voice where young people can go on to and make their voices heard, and be a part of a change, that allows us to be an instrumental point and a main focus in driving this effort.
Absolutely.
And changing the views, of the older generation. No offense again.
Don't worry, they call you young people, so you can call them older.
I want to also say, Malini, that we never believe that young people have a voice. But I think in 2019, when we had the first Children Parliament, many people were surprised at the opinions that came out of that parliament when the children discussed the issues that they had. Nobody had to tell them these issues. Those were the issues they were facing in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of their protection. Nadir at that time was the deputy PM during that parliament, and I think that really brought to light that children do can voice their opinion. What they need is the space to be able to do so.
Yes.
And as adults, or the older generation, as Nadir says, we still believe that children should be seen and not heard. And so when children speak, we get nervous. But what we fail to realize is that these young people they're not only the future, they're the present.
Yes, they are citizens of the country today, the country that we are leading.
Yes.
So what is the hope here? And Ava, let's get you back in. You know, you work with children a lot, and you are able to hear from them directly just how much they have to contribute. What do you think the impact of having youth voices included in developing the country program, what's that going to do?
Well, Marlene, as you know, at the NCFC, we have a couple youth arms. We have our CRC ambassadors, we have the Informed Team reporters, we have Kidorama. But for me, in the whole process of getting the Nexus platform online, that has been very eye-opening in terms of, because what we did was try to expand the youth groups. So we had people from the Department of Youth Services, from BFLA, from right across the country, trying to get a better understanding of what are some of the issues that young people feel are important to them. And that discussion was very interesting in terms of where they see themselves. Yeah. Because earlier in the conversation, you said one of the perception is that young people don't care. Mm-hmm. But it's more a feeling, when you talk to them, it's a feeling of we're speaking, but nobody is listening. And we don't just want to speak, we want to make a difference. We want it to be meaningful participation.
Yes.
And so that's where we need to start from. We need to start to really listen to what these young people are saying, because if you sit down and listen, you find out that they do have some wonderful ideas. For us, some of the older persons, we step back and say, well, I wonder if that can work. But at least we're listening and trying to provide the spaces that they need. We had the launch recently of the roadmap to end child marriage and early unions in Belize. Young people form a vital part of those consultations as well, because again, that is an issue that impacts them. So at every turn, we try and engage young people because we recognize the need to hear from them and to look at what it is that they want. How can we meet their needs? Because as Paulette rightly said, we often say our children are our future, but we need to recognize that our children are our present. And so we have to deal with that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one of the things we're looking for, Maleni, in Nexus, we want to at least have, this is the minimum we're shooting for, 150 young persons sign up for Nexus, so that by May 28th, we can start this discussion. We can start, the journey to giving them that space to voice their opinion. So that is our goal for now. Of course, the online platform can hold as much as 300 participants, and so we are shooting for 150, trying to get young people sign up for Nexus as volunteers, and then we hope that, as Nadir said, that these first set of volunteers will then go out and then share what they've learned, gather information from their peers, and so we could have a ripple. No?
Yes. And just as we start to wrap up, the stakeholders meeting and the preparation for the upcoming country program, tell us a bit about the process and how that will define the strategies that will be pursued for the next 5 years.
Okay, as mentioned earlier, we wanted to get, first of all, the views right across the board, looking at health, looking at education, looking at climate change, looking at, digital technology and how, that has changed the way we see things, the way we move, the way we buy, the way we operate. And so that is key. And so we can say these are the things that we see, but we need the partners who are actually working to give us an idea as to what is the direction we take. Because when you say, okay, I will look at health, the gamut of looking at health is vast. So what we want to say, if we're looking at health, let us try to look at those who are most vulnerable. And in looking at those who are most vulnerable, what are some of the deprivations that children and their families are facing? And how can we streamline that to say, okay, this is a partnership we're having. These are the whole issues that children must face. However, this is where the government can play a role. This is where the private sector can play a role. This is where the NGOs and the civil society can play a role. And this is the role for UNICEF or the other UN agency. So it is a partnership to ensure that we reach these children and we try to change their lives. As you rightly said, it's something that UNICEF cannot do alone. And so it requires partnerships. So where we act, we can act. And where we see that we need to leverage partnership to still meet, the needs of children, that's where we will go. However, we need to define what those deprivations are so that in the next 5 years we can assess to see how far we have achieved the things that we commit to with the government.
Yeah.
And for them to hold us to task as well, and the stakeholders. If you say you are meeting children, you're changing their life, then let's see what you have done as UNICEF in this partnership. So it's also to hold us accountable as the UN.
It is a cooperation agreement. Now let's just close off, Nadir, and telling people how they can sign up for Nexus, and so they can also join in and ensure that, I think Ava said something so powerful, that they are not speaking without being heard, that they can speak and actually be listened to.
All right, good morning once again, guys. They can visit the NCFC website where they can join up for Nexus, for the platform, where we'll have the deadline for application. Give me a second to it. The deadline for closing of the applications is on the 28th of this month, May, from which we'll begin our first trainings in July, which will cover mental health, nutrition, and fitness. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for telling us about the work that you've been doing. We do hope that you're inundated with applications online for Nexus so more young people from across the country can be heard. And of course, best of luck in putting together the upcoming country program. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
And with that, we are going to be taking a short break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking all about some bees. So please stay tuned and we'll be right back after the break.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor, and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
We're back, and we're moving into our second conversation for today. And just in case you missed the buzz, it is going to be World Bee Day soon. Of course, we are joined by representatives of the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation. We have Silvero Marin, who is the administrator, and we have Mario Howe, who's the focal point for beekeeping in the Ministry of Agriculture. And they're going to be telling us all about the importance of bees. And of course, we love them for their honey, but also what the importance of bees in the ecosystem is as well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, Marlene.
So, you know, I think it's rather interesting. We don't want to think about bees very often. And if we see them around, we prefer them not to be. But it is so critically important, the role they play, not just in our ecosystem, but I think in the functions across the planet. So let's talk about that. Let's start with you, Silvero.
Yes, Marlene. Well, good morning, Marlene and Gavin, and good morning to the audience.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, as you have mentioned, bees are very important to the entire food production system.
Yeah.
Many a times they're overlooked, and their services go beyond the sweet honey that they produce, but rather they're responsible for the production of the food that we consume. And that is one of the main services that we need to appreciate them for, because their value through that service is immense.
Yeah. And explain to us how. I think I once read that, you know, that if we would eliminate bees, that you think of all the roles they play in pollination and how it ensures, as you said, food production. Break it down for us. Am I hearing?
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So the whole system, the whole agro-productive system, particularly the horticultural aspect of agriculture, is heavily dependent on the bees. And food production in general depends on the pollination service of the bees. So that if the bees would go extinct, there would be no other insect that would be able to replace this service that the bees provide. And at least they would not be able to replace them quickly enough to be able to actually help us satisfy the needs of the population. And so that puts us, the human race, at risk as well. So we depend heavily on these insects.
Yeah. That's not something we'd like to think about very often, right?
Right, and it's often overlooked.
Yeah.
And Mario, perhaps you can chime in and speak a little bit about the Ministry of Agriculture and their interest or work in beekeeping.
Yes, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank for this opportunity to join us to share about beekeeping in Belize. I think beekeeping is something that the Ministry of Agriculture has been promoting ever since. As we know, we used to have a fairly good industry in Belize in the early 80s. Now we used to export a lot of honey to Europe and the US and other countries. But we know that the beekeeping industry has suffered a major downfall recently with a lot of setbacks. Firstly, we have the arrival of the Africanized bees in 1987 that gave a devastating effect to the industry, where we are not, at that time, we are not ready to face the challenges that the Africanized bees that brought to Belize.
Why was that?
Nevertheless, I think, yeah.
Sorry, just explain to us why the introduction of Africanized bees had a bad effect on the existing population.
Yes, at that time, I think most of the bees that was managed at that time is a type of bees that is very docile. Okay. It is called European bees. It doesn't require a lot to manage the bees. It's basically just to put a veil and a hat over your head and you start to work the bees. But the Africanized bees, when they come into Belize, they are more of a type of a defensive type of bees that requires more technique to manage the bees. And that is the fact that our people are not ready to manage the bees. And it just totally overtook the industry, and all our bees just get defensive, and the fear to manage the bees then is there. So that our beekeeper just abandon the bees. They don't have that technique to keep on working the bees.
Oh, that's interesting. So one of the first challenges we faced was when we had this aggressive type of bee in the country, and so people didn't want to face the potential dangers of working with them.
That is the thing, the danger that the bees pose to the public. Yeah. Well, the public in general, because people tend to have a bad misconception of bees that there's a killer bees, but it's not really. It's a killer bees though. It's just like they are more defensive type of bees, and these type of bees work more. They work harder. They collect more honey than the regular bees that we have first. So that put us that we have to put more techniques to manage these bees. We have to invest a little bit more in the protection, how to work the bees, and as well how the setting of the operation that we need to do all of those changes. Yeah. But in all of those, our ministry did a lot of work in trying to train our beekeepers to try to manage this. That is the way. That's why we are here now, still promoting this very important small industry that we have right now.
And what other things have impacted this industry, as you said? So the first was the entrance of the Africanized bees. What else has led to the decline?
Yes, firstly, as I said, we have the Africanized bees, and then, as you know, there are other challenges like when it comes to pests and disease, no? Then we have a pest that is called the varroa mite, which people never did expect that this type of pests live with the bees, but it does affect the bees, no? If you don't do certain thing to treat it, then you could reach to the point of losing your bees, no?
Okay.
That is the first one that we had after the Africanized bees. Then in 2015 we have the arrival of the small hive beetle that pose also a threat to the industry. At this moment we have a real threat to the industry, but eventually I think if people doesn't lead to the best management practices of the RB operation, that will lead to a total loss as well. Again, that is in terms of pests. Now we could talk also as climate change, no? Climate change too has impact to the industry as well. We have seen sudden changes in weather pattern in previous years. That does affect honey production as well.
Yeah. Now, there has to be, as you start off, I'm just thinking to myself, there must be a big market for honey. I'm a big honey fan, and anytime I travel and I see, these bottles on the grocery stores and they say organic, I know it's not going to taste anything like our honey home in Belize. Is it an untapped market, one that has more potential for growth, but people just need to learn techniques as to how to work with the bees safely?
I think our honey, when it comes to what you're saying, organic, well, we don't call it really organic, but I think we could, it's most like I would call it eco-friendly produce, no? Okay. Because it's for doing certain organic type of honey, it goes to a lot of certification, and we don't go through that procedure, no? Yes, yet, but it's something that can be done, no? Yeah. But our honey that is being produced is really, I would say, pure honey that is being produced in the jungles of Belize, no?
Yes. Yes.
And Silvero, perhaps you can shed a little bit of light on what the Belize Marketing and Develop Corporation does to support the industry and the ministry's efforts to kind of develop beekeeping.
Well, Davin, we've been working in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture since 2017 in this specific area of the agricultural sector, in developing the beekeeping small industry. The whole point for us is for us to open up the opportunities not only for the local market but also for the export market for our product. Belize has a lot of protected areas that can be used to actually produce this product, and it can be marketed. It can have a unique trademark in the international market as protected areas honey or naturally produced honey. And so that is the area that we're working on. It is extensive in that we're working in the development of the entire value chain. And in doing that, we have focused primarily on the market side, implementing traceability components, looking at the standards that are required to access various markets, and also standardizing the practices in the production of the product. We know that beekeeping was practiced by a lot of beekeepers who did not implement good practices. That is the use of the proper equipment, the food grade bottling, even the actual processing of the honey requires specific good practices to be carried out. And so those are the elements that we've been promoting, and we've been promoting the development of the entire value chain. And it's not only with the Ministry of Agriculture, but it's also with other partners in development.
Yeah. Can you answer the same question I asked earlier in terms of the potential for growth?
Absolutely. There is huge potential. We see the opportunity, and that is why we have a lot of focus on developing this industry, because we know that it can become one of those major income earners, particularly for the small farmers and the beekeepers. You know that they are not only producing honey, but rather in the actual process of honey production, they're also helping us to conserve. You know, conservation is a big part of Belize, and so we see this as one of the key agronomic practices that goes hand in hand with conservation. And so the potential is there for us to access the export market, first of all through the tourists coming in, because every time a tourist comes in and they take some honey back home, that is considered an export.
Yes.
You know, and so when they're home and they're promoting the local Belizean products, that also opens up the market for our local products. And the whole dream of the team is to eventually be able to access the formal export markets, not only for bulk honey, because there's a lot of war, there's a big war going on with that, but rather in honey that is more specialized and accessing niche markets like those of conservation-related markets, and also those that are perhaps more in the area of natural and organic.
Nice. And what about our bee population? How are we doing there?
Okay, in terms of what our 2020 production figure stands at, a little bit over 115,000 pounds of honey that we produced last year. That is, compared to me, it's very low, but I think the opportunities there for expansion is out there. That is why the Ministry of Agriculture is focusing in expanding this industry now by recruiting new people to join the industry. Especially we are focusing now in getting young people like youths and women to join the industry.
Yes.
Because most of our people that deals with bees right now are people that are over 50 years old. So the aging population of the industry is phasing out. That is why the Ministry of Agriculture is trying to recruit new people to get back into the industry so that we could expand this vital industry.
Yeah. How do you help them overcome the fear? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at the images of bees and I get nervous. Even though you've told me there are safe ways and practices to manage them. Yes. It's that first fear that people have to overcome.
Yes, I think it's a approach that we normally, it's like right now we are now recruiting people, but we are going to go and get them through a phase of training. They have to go through a process of training,
yes,
where they will be in class and practical approach of training. So they will be interacting with bees as well. After that, I think they will be more at a stage that they will be more willing to getting close to the bees, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you mentioned earlier that we refer to bees as killer bees. But yes, that's I mean, if you're allergic, that's a different story. But on average, yes, people can get stung and be fine.
Yes, allergic is something. No? I think if you're allergic to it, then one sting could be fatal. No? But you could get if you're not allergic, then you could get as many stings, but that does nothing to you. No?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what are some of the areas that you're looking at to get more young people engaged? Because this is a time, I mean, our young people are so innovative, they're so interested in being entrepreneurs, and here is this industry that you both are clearly saying has potential, that people can make money and maybe even at some point tap into that export market if they take up beekeeping. So how do we get the young people on board?
Okay. Right now, as I speak now, we have a project that is going. We have called for proposal to recruit new people in. I think it's a project that is being funded by the Caribbean Development Fund. So at the moment, we have done a pre-selection of 100 participants to join our program, no? Which if all of them are successful, then most of them will have a new cadre of people that will join in the industry in the near future, no?
Nice.
But when you talk about the areas that we are looking, I think it's all across the country, but we are targeting the rural community, knows that where we have more potential, no?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I may add, Marlene.
Yes.
Also, when we talk about the areas where we expect to see the youths coming in with their innovation, it's not only in the production aspect, that is one of the key elements, but there is so much room within the beekeeping value chain. There is also value addition that is not tapped into as yet into the country. There are cosmetics that can be developed. There are so many other products that can be developed from honey and from bee products. There's medicines. There is a series of beauty care products that can be developed. Bees are not only good at producing honey, but they're also good at producing wax and other products from the hive that then can be harnessed to actually produce other byproducts.
That's so true.
So there is a lot of room for development. I've been looking at what the beekeepers are doing, and there's a lot of innovation already that we are seeing. Simply with their packaging, that is something that we're very happy to see, that we're moving away from now using the recycled bottles to now using food grade packaging, proper labeling, and you see the innovation.
Yeah.
Now beekeepers are producing honey that has a comb inside.
Oh wow, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's pollen that is blended with the honey. There is also some soaps that are being developed. There are some wines that are being developed in country. So there's a lot of good ideas that are floating around, and it's only a matter of getting them into the local market and then hopefully to be able to export them.
Well, yeah, no, that's super interesting. So I was gonna ask about World Bee Day and the virtual event, and if we're gonna see any of those products or innovations being highlighted.
Absolutely. This month we are celebrating World Bee Day on the 20th of May. That is this Thursday, and we've been having a series of events that are leading up to that that special day for us, no? And we've had a TikTok competition. We've had various advertisements out into the public, and we're going to end up all the activities on this Thursday with a virtual symposium. And in this virtual symposium, we're going to have our partners in development coming and sharing about the work that they have been doing throughout the year. Not only in country, but also across the region. And we're also going to have people from the Ministry of Agriculture, Mario and part of his team, also sharing some of the work that has happened in country. We're going to have NGOs such as Yakshe, who are also in the business of beekeeping, sharing their experiences as well. So we are going to have a discussion on all the work that has happened throughout the past years in the actual development of this small industry.
Now, Mario, before we go, I want you to help us understand what we should do if we encounter bees and we're not beekeepers. Because as much as you have highlighted, and the fact that there is a World Bee Day shows that there is a need to focus on protecting and maintaining these populations for food security and all that they contribute. So Mario, when people encounter hives, whether it's in an urban area or a rural area, what should they do? I'm assuming we shouldn't try to kill them on our own.
Okay, that's very right. No, but most importantly, I think when you identify those situations, no, I think if you it's best that you contact us at the Agriculture Department so that we could assess the situation. If the situation can be dealt with immediately, then the department will do it right away. If not, then we have other alternative. If somebody could extract this nest of bees and put it into good use, then we find the way how we could do that. No, but most importantly, I would advise the public not to get in touch or deal with the situation, because if you don't know what you're doing, that would be really dangerous. No?
Yeah.
But the Agriculture Department is there to support in any of these situations. No?
All right. So there we go, the importance of bees. And so the competitions that you have ongoing, you got a TikTok competition there, Silvero?
Yes, we do have a TikTok competition.
Yeah.
And actually you can go on our Facebook page and you can see all the submissions that we've gotten. And be engaged, and go ahead and like and share the video that you like the most. The competition actually ends at midday today. So hopefully we're going to see some good videos at the end. The whole theme of this year's World Bee Day is Be Engaged. And we are inviting people to show us how they are engaged in, one, the protection of bees, and also the consumption of honey. When we say be engaged, a lot of people ask us, well, how am I going to get engaged in saving the bees? Well, it's very easy. One of the easiest ways for us to be engaged is by consuming honey from our local beekeepers.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm doing my part there. I can be sure of that. So what's your favorite way to eat honey? Let me hear.
Well, I always enjoy my coffee and my teas with some honey. So that's my preferred way.
Okay. And what about you, Mario?
Well, basically the same thing. We try to consume honey every day.
Yeah. Gavin, do you have a favorite way to eat honey?
Yeah, tea.
Okay, tea. Okay, I guess I'll be the anomaly here. I love honey on fresh bread.
Okay, no, I thought you were going to say fried jack. I know that's another thing. That's
that
a good
too.
One.
So we've given people so many TikTok ideas right there to submit before midday. But this has been a really interesting and informative conversation. We appreciate you and what you're doing. And of course, keep us updated when you do have those new honey products as well. Stay safe, everybody, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break.
And when we come back, we're going to be talking about adult and continuing education. So please stay tuned.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank. Our country. Your bank.
in place by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Passengers traveling to the U.S. must present a negative COVID test or a documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to travel to the U.S. In light of this, Maya, in partnership with Caring Hands Clinic, have established testing centers in all their municipal airports. Caring Hands Antigen Test Center is operational in San Pedro, Belize City, Dangriga, Placencia, and Hopkins. These testing facilities are staffed by licensed healthcare professionals, including doctors, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. Testing is done using Abbott Rapid Test devices that are FDA approved and made in the USA. The service is safe, fast, affordable, and the close proximity of the centers makes them convenient. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are encouraged. If you would like to make an appointment, please feel free to do so at Make your appointment, get tested, and in 15 minutes, you can get back to your vacation.
Do you need to apply for a Social Security card? With our newest online service, My Social Security, applying for a card just got easier. With a My Social Security account, you can apply for a card anytime and anywhere, putting you in control. To use this service, you must first create your My Social Security account. Visit our website. Under Online Services, select My Social Security, provide your personal information, and await activation of your new account. After activation, you are free to log in to your My Social Security account to complete your online application for a Social Security card. Be sure to book your registration appointment to finish the card application process. Gain control and truly experience Social Security at your fingertips.
And we are back. And if you're joining us now, we are just getting our third and final conversation for this morning started. And we are talking all about adult and continuing education, which is a program for adults to complete their high school education. And here to join us for this conversation, we have Manuel Bautista, who is the chairperson of the Adult and Continuing Education program. We also have Paulette Augustus, who is the principal of the Gwen Lizarraga Evening School Division, and we also have Lourdes Escobar, who is a student at the Gwen Liz Evening School Division. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes. And,
good morning, good morning, Marlene. Good morning, Gavin. I would like to say good morning to Paulette and to Lourdes.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Bao.
All right,
and good morning, viewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this excited team that we have here to tell us all about adult continuing education.
Yep. So, Manuel, why don't you get us started and tell all of our viewers what the program is all about?
Okay, thank you very much, Gavin. But before I do that, I would like to since I have this opportunity, I would like to congratulate Marlene on her promotion. So Marlene, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay. Yes, we have presently 10 adult and continuing education institutions throughout the nation. Ms. Paulette and mine are 2 of those 10. And so we intend to tell you this morning about our institutions and what we offer. The 10 institutions have gotten together for over the past 2 years, and we have formed the Association of ACE Directors of Belize. And so we are now, rather than working individually like before, we are now working together as one unit, one body, to meet the needs of our adults when it comes to education. Yes, Marlene, sorry?
I was going to say, you know, you fill such an important gap in being able to recognize that there are adults who at some point may decide, if they didn't finish high school, that they want to go back and complete it. I remember in Belize City when there was the evening division of school, it used to be next to Channel 5. It was one of the most bustling places in the city, and since then, since it closed down, there have been a few schools that have taken up the mantle. Tell us a bit about sustaining adult continuing education institutions. What's the challenge there?
Well, the challenge there for us is funding usually, right? Yeah. I find for the majority of our institutions, that's the first thing that they say, funding. And secondly, it's resources and the tools that our students may need to be able to gain the quality education we want to offer. All right, so those are challenges, but we, so far from checking with the other institutions, we are doing quite a lot with very little. And I'm happy for that. Paulette, you'd like to add anything to that?
Hi, morning. Yes. Again. To add to what Mr. Bow has been saying, yes, we have had our challenges in terms of finances, of course, and especially since with the onset of the pandemic, we have been experiencing a little bit more, but we have had to be more flexible and more empathetic and understanding of our students, of our adult learners as well. So that is one of the greatest challenges. And then, of course, life circumstances and all of that have caused some of our learners to not be consistent to the extent that we would like it to. So those are some of the challenges, two of the main challenges that we have experienced as an ACE institution.
Yeah. So you said that there are 10 institutions across the country. Tell us where they are.
We have one, basically we have one in each district. Okay. We have Orange Walk, which is for Mr. Bautista, San Juan Bautista. We have Corozal Evening Division. We have Gwenlis Evening Division in Belize City. We have Claver College in Punta Gorda. We have Eden High School in the Kaya district. Yeah. And we have, help me out here, Mr. Bow. I'm missing, San Pedro High School in San Pedro, of course. Yeah. So those are some of our institutions that we have.
If I could just go over that, Marlene, quickly. In Belmopan, we have one, the Baptist ACE High School. Yeah. In Orange Walk, we have one. That's the one that I am concerned with. In Stan Creek, we have the Ecumenical. In Cayo, we have St. Ignatius. In Belize City, we have Gwen Lizarado. That's the one that Paulette is concerned with. In Toledo, we have Clavers College. In San Pedro, we have San Pedro High School East. In Corozal, again, we have the Escuela Mexico. In Independence, we also have one. And in Corozal, we have the Corozal Community College East section.
Okay.
So those are the institutions, Marlene.
I can only imagine the stories that you must hear firsthand from people who go back to school as adults. And that's part of what I want to get from you. From the students who do take the opportunity to complete their education at one of these ACE institutions, what tends to be the catalyst? And let's get Lourdes to answer this one. What tends to be the catalyst that makes them finally make that jump?
Good morning again, everyone.
Good morning.
What makes someone decide to go back to school?
Yeah.
I believe there are many reasons behind it, not just one, there are many. But one of the main reasons is in your workplace. You want to be more productive and more efficient. And then for your family, you want to, sometimes we tell our kids to go to school and get that higher education, but then we fall behind. And in the world we live in today, we need to, I would say, lead more by example.
Yeah.
And because some of them just take it for granted that, you know, you can get whatever you want, I guess, without hard work. And so it's maybe as a role model. And in my case, there were many, but the main reason was, my main reason was self-accomplishment. I wanted to be able to make sound decisions whenever I have to out there. And I know that going back to schools, I would learn certain skills, or I would enhance certain skills that I have already had.
Yeah. What class are you in at this point?
I'm in my final year. I started in first year, which is basically 3 years.
Wow. What does that feel like, Lourdes?
It kind of feels good because going to school is not just books. We had several recreation activities like family night. We have females retreat and males retreat, so it's not only books, but when it came to the book part, it could be overwhelming. We basically need the support of our family. In my case, I had the support of my employer, and my cheerleaders were my friends. My friends, they pushed me through a lot.
Yeah. Now, there's so many reasons why people don't complete their education. You know, from the outside, people make assumptions and think, oh, they must drop out of school. But sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's a lot of other things that can happen. And, you know, they continue into adulthood, they try to get jobs, and they just think, if only I had finished school. What do you say to those people who are watching right now thinking, maybe I should go back, but they're scared, they feel like they can't keep up with the work, they maybe think they can't afford it, or they're not going to remember some of the things they learned when they were younger?
In my experience, I was out of school for more than 20 years. And like you said, there's so many reasons why people didn't get to go to school, and people make assumptions. And again, just my personal story, I was never given the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to go to high school any at all. And so I knew that it's something I wanted to do. And when I did decide to go, I realized, okay, I need a plan. And so my plan was basically organization, prioritization, and focusing on my daily goals, and realizing that it was a long-term benefit that I would get from it, rather than focusing on the short-term inconveniences that I was going through at the moment, you know. So I believe that if anyone wants to go, you need to give it a try and just organize your day. Like I believe in my case that worked for me, and I gave up some things. You know, you have to make sacrifices, and some of those sacrifices for me was my recreational time, because with work and going to school, I basically didn't have time to watch TV. I didn't have time to watch a movie. I didn't have time to go with my friends because I always had my responsibilities.
And Manuel, why don't you talk a little bit about what it is like to work with the students who choose, and perhaps some of the feedback you hear from those who are in the program?
Okay, if I may, thanks, Gavin. If I may, I would like to just point out something here so that you get an idea of the type of students we are really dealing with these institutions. I think at an earlier interview Marlene had with the Minister of Education, he pointed out that at the ministry, they look after the preschool, the primary school, the secondary school, and the tertiary. All those are regarded as the formal sector of the ministry, or the youth education sector. All right. However, there is another sector that exists, which is the adult education sector. And that adult education sector comes from the adult population in our country. What led me to get into this service is because once I heard, I think it was from a former Minister of Education, that the statistics department in the Ministry of Education had pointed out that they were looking at those students that enter primary school and those that drop out. And it seemed as though at that time, 50% of the number of students that enter primary school, right, would remain in school to go on to the secondary level, and 50% would drop out. And at the secondary level, it noticed that that same percent continued. 50% would continue on to the tertiary, and 50% would fall out. Well, let's look at the numbers there. If 50% falls out in the primary section, and you have another 50% fall out in the secondary, so that tells me that there are 75% of the students who begin primary school, about 75% fall out of the system. Maybe from that time to now that has decreased, but even if it has decreased to 30%, that's quite a number we're talking about. We're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. So these students that drop out the system join the already existing adult population that had fallen out too as well. And so this population is really large.
Yeah.
And we have seen the effects of having a system like that going on. Yeah. This pandemic has shown, look at the pantry. How many people need that pantry? How many people needed money to be able to survive? And the previous government and this government has said it's unsustainable. Yeah. We cannot continue like that. Well, then we have to fix our system so that we make sure that our adult population in this nation is educated and that they have the knowledge and they have the skills to be able to become employed. Yeah. Right? And those that are employed, sorry, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, yes. And so those that are unemployed, we need to get them to be employable. And that is where institutions like ours provide, right? And that is what I think Lourdes was alluding to as well, and the students that I have at my institution. So, right? So what we want, what we do is we provide the knowledge and the skills for them to become employable. And those that came out because they were limited in their skills and knowledge, some of them probably remain unemployed. Some got jobs, but these are jobs that really the money they make is just from hand to mouth, we say, right?
Yeah, their job options tend to be limited in situations like that. Let me get Paulette in for a second. I want to, So Paulette, why don't you tell us, I mean, I can only imagine that for the students, it is a very transformational process to go from not completing school and then completing at the ACE institution. In your case, it would be the Gwenliz Evening School. Tell us a bit about the difference you see in your students from when they first enter to when they graduate. Is she still with us, Paulette?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
What happened, we have noticed that they come in the same way as I think when students go to regular high school. And although they're adults, they still come in nervous, expecting, scared, and all of that. And then you see them progress as the time goes by, as the weeks goes by, as the months goes by. And eventually you see the changes from first year to second year to third year. and they become such prominent and confident students, you know, and they're so receptive of what it is and committed and dedicated to their learning. And you literally see how it is that they have evolved from that young person that came in, whatever age it is that they came in at, but you still see them evolve from that timid person to that confident student, that confident learner who knows what their goals are and what it is that they have set for themselves upon application, from the time of application to the evening division until it is that they have graduated from the institution. And because of that, we have seen so many of them have a step up in their career. So many of them have gone on to tertiary institutions and graduated successfully. So it does make them feel proud, and it even makes us as the educators feel even more proud of their accomplishments and seeing them coming and dedicating and committing to getting that education, and then to where it is that they now are 5 years later, 10 years later.
You must have
what
some
the institution has done.
Yeah, you must have some of the most inspirational graduation ceremonies, because there's a big difference between a teen who goes to high school because, you know, we're supposed to, and an adult that makes a choice to go back.
It is.
Yeah.
It very much is, you know, and we often find ourselves crying, you know, and then getting those goosebumps. You hear people talk about goosebumps, but it gives you that sense of, wow. You know, as you said, it's a big difference from the regular high school students who are told, you know, you need to complete school, and then seeing an adult graduating and knowing that they have made that decision, they have made that commitment to be on that stage. And that's why for us, it's important for us to have graduation, you know, because that's a sense of accomplishment for them, a little bit of self-actualization for them. Yeah. So it's important that we be there and be, you know, be in that moment with them. And we often find ourselves crying at every graduation.
Yeah, yeah. Same for you, Manuel?
Yes, it's the same for me. We find that every year at graduation, you have the valedictorian will break down, or some parents will break down as well, and they cry. But they cry out of joy, right? Because of that great accomplishment they made. They realize that after all the sacrifices they made, they have accomplished something, right? So, but we are also interested to Marlene in having our students, since they're adults, becoming employers, not only employees. So we train them at San Juan Bautista High School. We offer a business program.
Oh, good.
And in that business program, that is where they are trained to become business oriented and employers.
Yeah.
Our graduation rate is like 95 to 100%. And this is mainly due to the fact that we maintain a healthy student-teacher ratio of 15 students to 1 teacher. That is the average.
What's the average
We also
age?
must
What's the average age of the students? I'm sorry to interrupt there. There's a delay.
The average age is around 24 to 26, something like that.
Okay.
The average age. Right.
Is that the same
we
at
have
Gwen?
students.
Sorry. Is that the same at Gwen Liz Paulette? What's your average age?
Our average age is, we start a little bit younger, because then we're allowed to start students at the age of 16 years.
Okay.
And we have had graduates who have graduated at the age of 61.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes.
It is. It's
Right.
it is.
So,
And
Lourdes, you are looking forward to graduation day.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to reach there.
Yeah. What will that mean for you
Yeah.
and your family that day when it comes and you will, you know, be able to say that you collect your diploma?
I guess that's what I will. I guess that's what I would put in their plate the days they couldn't have food.
Yeah.
Just fun. I had big support from them, you know, from my husband, from my kids, and they're all excited and waiting for that day because they see the work we put in, they see the sacrifices we have to make. But I'd like to add something to that. I'd like to say that the teachers, the educators at Point Lizarraga High School Evening Division are very understanding and extremely supportive. Sometimes as adults, you want to give in. You want, at least for me, I reached that point once last year, and I didn't hand in my assignments as I normally do. And my teacher was like, "Whereas what's happening to you?" And then I explained to him, what was going on. And mainly it was due to the pandemic and the change of platform in the way we were now learning. And he was so supportive, and he gave much advice, and he just pushed us. So the teachers there are very, very supportive and extremely understanding. So anyone who is thinking, should I go? I would say go for it. Go for it. You have nothing to lose.
All right. Well, we appreciate you
Yes.
all telling us about the work that you're doing. How do people find out where the nearest adult continuing education program is and how they can enroll?
Well, I would say, depending on where you live, there's one in each district. And most of us are on Facebook. So because as we said, the pandemic has caused us to evolve so much. So there's one in each district. You can find us in Facebook. Most of our compounds are located at the high school compound. Our offices, are located on the high school compound, so they could contact us, come to our office. They can call us. For us, you could come to the Gwenlis compound, and you will find our evening division office there. You can email us, you can WhatsApp us, you can Facebook Messenger us. So we're available at every social media, and so they can get in contact with us. We can email those application forms out, and come. I encourage each and every adult who have missed that opportunity to get that high school education to come back. When this evening division and all the other 8 institutions exist for that purpose, for that specific purpose. And we have been in existence for more than 10 years, and we have graduated so many adult learners, and they can give their testimonies, and you can see that it will not be a waste of your time. So I encourage any adult who have not had that opportunity to come, visit our office and get an application and come to Gwenlis Evening Division and all the other 8 institutions.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to all of you. Yes, Manuel?
Marlene, I could just say one thing here before we end. First of all, we look at the quality of work for our students or graduates, and we have graduated quite a number too. We have been in this business for it's now 20 years, right? So we have a lot of graduates out there, and to check my quality, I track the graduates, and that gives me a good measure of the value we add to our students. Yes. And we have had several success stories, right? I just wanted to mention just 3 of them. A past graduate who is presently an owner-manager of an office cleaning service in Tennessee, USA. I've heard from her recently. Another graduate upon graduation received a Mexican scholarship to study architecture at the Universidad de Cuernavaca and the Universidad de Monterrey, has recently successfully completed his degree as well. He's now an architect. Another graduate who upon graduation also received a Mexican scholarship to study at the Instituto Tecno in Chetumal, and he is now a junior electrical engineer at BTL. And there are many more success stories. So I encourage those young adults that would like to complete their high school education to get over that fear. Stop looking back in the past at what you could have done and what you didn't do and so on. You got to stop that, because that feeds your fear and that prevents you from wanting to move forward. So you need to forget about the past, turn over a new page and come to one of our institutions. We are now accepting presently online application and in-person applications for the 2021-22 school year. The application form is on our Facebook page, San Juan Bautista High School Orange Walk. One can find answers to frequently asked questions there as well.
Okay.
Our phone number is 635-3150 if they need to contact us.
All right. Thank you so much, Manuel. Thank you, Paulette and Lourdes. Best of luck. You're going to get there. And we hope to see those graduation pictures as well. You guys take care, and thank you for the great work that you do.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for having us, Marlene and Gavin.
All right.
Thanks a million.
And with
Have
that,
a great day.
And you too. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take that final break, and we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something. The Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
And we're back.
Yep, and if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our show wrapped up for this morning after a bunch of conversations. We want to say thank you to all our guests who came in. We started off today's show talking with representatives of UNICEF, talking all about their programs for the country development program, talking all talking all about that and their hope for the next 5 years as they get to starting work on the new one.
Yeah, and then we focused on bees and honey. Do remember that there is an ongoing competition. It's on TikTok. It's through the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, and you can create your TikTok video on what you're doing to save bees or how you consume honey. And there are other opportunities. I think there's an essay competition as well and a seminar that's going to be held on Thursday, which is World Bees Day, yeah. So, you know, I'm never going to look at a bee and think the same thing anymore. And do remember that as the representative, Mario from the Ministry of Agriculture pointed out, there is an opportunity for people to get involved in beekeeping and create honey that can be sold locally and hopefully eventually into the international market as well.
And finally, we want to say thank you to all of those who came to talk to us about the Adult and Continuing Education Program, which aims to help those who didn't finish their high school education to finish, and it mainly focuses on adults who want to get their high school diplomas. And we did hear some inspiring stories, and we're even joined by a current participant of the program, so we want to wish everybody the best of luck. And if you are interested in accessing the program, you can find them on Facebook, as there is a school in every district, at least one I should say. So if you are interested, try to log on and get some information, and perhaps you could be the next graduate. Yep.
You know, such an inspirational conversation there in the end, and I think it is really empowering when you imagine people making decisions like that as adults to go back and complete school and moving on as well. So it is such, you know, we do hope that people show their support. We hope that educational institutions embrace them as well when they do complete their ACE studies, and allow them the opportunity to be able to only develop into more contributing citizens. So thank you to our guests there, and remember, if you are considering going back to school to finish up that high school degree, then just find an institution near you and get the ball rolling. You definitely won't regret it.
Yeah. And of course, we will be continuing to bring you coverage on our nightly newscast of today's events. We are going to be talking all about the ongoing strike action and what today's events are going to look like. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, today the BNTU and joint unions are holding a funeral for corruption. So we are going to be bringing you coverage of all those events as they take place across the country on tonight's newscast at 6 o'clock.
All right. And that's all the time we have for today. So if you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And on Instagram at OYE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.